We are in Derech Hashem, page 394. Okay, and it says, I believe this is where we're starting. The Ramchal defines the fundamental differences between two methods of evoking transcendent events. Okay, I think we did this last week, so repeat. Fine. Regarding the first principle, which involves the uttering of Hashem's name to draw from it the hashpa'ah, it will definitely require a state of closeness to Hashem and of devekus with Him. And he explains, since the mechanism of this action is calling Hashem through His name, the caller must be someone whom Hashem is willing to answer. If that person has not developed closeness to Hashem, Hashem will not respond to his call. So this is a statement to all of us that if we want Hashem to answer us, we have to have the relationship with Hashem. It's not good enough to say, I haven't talked to you, I don't know if you exist anymore, and all the other stuff that atheists like to say when they're in the foxhole or when they're praying for a loved one in the hospital, which is when they usually fall on whatever their mode of prayer was originally, and maybe a Jew or a non-Jew, and suddenly say, I don't know if you exist, but this person thinks you exist, so, and so on and so forth. Okay, God doesn't, the old statement is, God is not a soda machine. Don't just put the prayer in and expect it to come out. So he's saying the same sort of thing. You have to have a relationship with Hashem for all of these things to work. The more this matter of closeness of Hashem is increased, the more successful will be the one who applies it. And to the extent that this closeness is diminished, so too will he find difficulty in achieving the goal. Think about this in terms of a person comes to you and says they need a loan. They don't want tzedakah. They don't want charity. They want a loan. Good. People want a loan right now. Okay. So, what are the odds that you're going to give them the time of day? If the odds are good and you want to help people out, even though you may probably never see the money again, so in your mind it's tzedakah, but they're claiming loan or whatever. So then, do you give in right away? Do you give them problems for it? Do you say, call me in 3 weeks, we'll discuss it, and then in 3 weeks when they call you, because they took you seriously, then you say, remind me again what it's about, even though you know what it's about, but you're trying to push them off. Is that what you're doing? Because if that's what you're doing, when you ask Hashem for a pay raise, Hashem will also give you the same, that's what he's saying, Hashem will also give you the thing of, give me a call in 3 weeks and we'll talk. Okay, until then, don't bother me, I have things to do. So that's the sort of closeness. Again, if I am keeping that trait going, if I am being gracious to people, if I am being compassionate to people, then I can ask Hashem for that sort of midah. If I am not, I should not expect that Hashem will pay me in kind. Okay? That's a combination, by the way, of the Ramchal and Toma Devara. So I'm just combining those two things because they're both basically saying the same. Seems to be the same thing. Okay, so regarding the second principle of using malachim, this condition is not essential, even though it will certainly not be ineffective in helping him. It is if it is found. For once it was placed in the quality of these names, so that their mention compels the malachim to act in transcendent ways. They too become like the natural tools, which anyone who utilizes them can activate as he desires, as long as he uses them appropriately. And explains, thus, since the malachim are merely instruments created by Hashem, they can be utilized, even without any relationship to Hashem, just as one uses a hammer to strike a nail without need for any relationship with God. Okay, so I take a hammer, I have something I have to bang in. Now, if you think about, men, I'm going to talk from a man's point of view here. There's two tools that a man needs, two things that a man needs, is duct tape.
And beer.
And what?
And beer.
No, not beer. Duct tape and a phone called a friend. Duct tape, and then a wrench of some sort, because with that you can probably fix most things, because you use a wrench as a hammer to bang something in. That's how people get the job done. So if you have all the fancy tools, then you're the kind of person, again speaking as guys, you're the kind of guy that has a pegboard with the tool outlined so you know exactly where the tool goes. Okay, if you're that anal about it, okay, so that is a good relationship with tools, and you probably will be very successful in fixing whatever it is that you want to fix. If you're like the regular person, me, who has the duct tape and whatever tool I'm going to use to try to get this square into the round peg, or the square into the round hole, so then you're going to do what you do. Sorry, I wasn't meant to hit you. This was meant to hit you. Okay, wake up. No, so that's really what it is. That's the tools we're talking about. If I'm using these tools, if I can use those malachim, if I know how to access them, it's like getting the right tool. It's like pulling them right off that pegboard and knowing what, and mind you, when I pull it off the pegboard, I know what I'm using the tool for. That's the beauty of that guy who has this outline. I've never seen it. I won't see it on TV, but I've never seen anybody actually do that. But I'm sure there are people who actually have these things outlined. But again, it's such a beautiful system because I know what that tool is used for. When you're looking, I have to admit, I do know something about tools. You can't take out a spark plug with a crescent wrench. What we used to call, by the way, in the old days, a monkey wrench. Did anybody ever hear a monkey wrench?
There are two different types, actually.
Oh, but we used to call it a monkey wrench. That's
right.
It was. I heard.
You can take out a spark plug with one once.
Oh, okay, yeah. You can do a lot of things, but once. Okay. But then for those who know they need the spark plug remover, so that's what you have to get to. And then there's different types of spark plug. That's also crazy. But you all need all these different tools. And again, if you know what you're doing, they're great. And that's what we're talking, that's malachim. So if you know which malach to use, you can bypass this relationship with God. Again, not the safest thing in the world to do, but nonetheless, it will work if you know what you're doing. Okay. So the Ramchal discusses a limitation that applies to both principles. So nevertheless, he says, it is clear that it is not appropriate and suitable for a commoner to use the scepter of a king. And he explains that both of the aforementioned methods involve invoking one of the names of Hashem, but Hashem's names are analogous to the scepter of a king, since it is with those names that Hashem takes action, much as a king initiates actions with his scepter. That's why it says with Esther, when she was going to the king, when she was supposed to go to the king, he said, if he raises his scepter, then I can go in. If not, it's basically a death sentence. So it's that's what we're talking about. About this matter, Chazal, the rabbis said, and this is from Pirkei Avot, he who makes use of the crown of Hashem shall pass from the world. This is only permitted for those who are holy, those who are close to Hashem and in a state of devekas with Him, that they may use it for the sake of producing through it a sanctification of Hashem's name and the fulfillment of His will in whatever manner possible. So he explains. The Ramchal stated above that at least the first method of transcending nature will not work unless a person is in a state of closeness and devekus with Hashem. Here he adds that it is not permitted for anyone else to attempt any method of using Hashem's name for the sakes of transcending the laws of nature. By the way, why would that, on a simple level, why would that be true? What do you think? Why shouldn't I use, if I got the book on how to use Hashem's names, right? So I read the book and I say, okay, name one will get me this outcome. And so Ramchal is saying, don't do that. Can anybody tell me why?
It'd be like putting a power saw in a child's hands. He might hurt himself with it.
You're going too far. You're assuming it's going to work. See, that's the whole thing. You're assuming it's going to work.
Because we might make a mistake.
Go the other way. What's his point? The Ramchal said,
You don't have the devekas.
if I don't have the devekas, it doesn't work. So I buy the book, I go onto eBay or whatever these, Amazon.com, and I see the book of spells, the Jewish Book of Spells. So I buy that for $19.99 plus tax. I buy that Jewish Book of Spells because it's going to work. I saw in the back of the thing, it said, use these names of God and you get tremendous results. Signed by somebody in Kabbalah. Okay?
Only if you have the little red string around.
Right, the red string. No, but wait. So what happens is I buy it at an SMC. Okay, that's from this morning. Then I buy the book. And what happens is I wait all the time. Finally get the book and I say, okay, I want riches. And it says riches. Oh, just go to page 20 and say this incantation. And I go to page 20. I say the incantation, whatever this says I'm supposed to say, naming the names of God, and I sit there and I wait. Telephone doesn't ring. Doorbell doesn't ring. I don't get Ed McMahon coming from the dead telling me you've won Publishers Warehouse $1 million. I didn't get the call from anybody else. And I'm thinking, what's going on? I said the incantation. It should have worked. Oh, wait, maybe I'll give it a day, 2 days, 3 days. Didn't work. Obviously, the book is a sham. It doesn't work. That's why he's saying, if you're not there, you can't work. It works, but you don't have the key. You're not there. If you're not there, I'm warning you, this doesn't work. That's what he's saying there. So he says, this is not for everybody. This is for those people who have the Devekas, who have attained that level. If you attain that level, then you can buy the book. Otherwise, the book's a waste of time. And by the way, if you go into these, I don't know, maybe it's Amazon.com, you could probably get on, but I remember there was a book of spells for witches. Yep. And I remember I was killing time, as it were, as we like to do in stores. And I flipped through the book, and it said a spell of how to, for love or something. You say this to the girl or about the girl, and boom, she's magically yours. Basically, I was thinking, are you kidding me? That's what you're supposed to do? Now again, the author doesn't really explain that you have to have Derech with Hashem or anything else. I mean, they actually believe that it works. And again, they're coming to me now, they tell me, okay, construction, everything is going crazy. But it's that's what they sell. So imagine, I'm sure you can find somebody selling this Jewish book of incantations and God's names and saying, this is what it is. And lo and behold, it won't work unless you have, as he's saying, this Devekas. So that's number one.
What's the downside to that?
What's the downside?
It doesn't work.
No, because then you'll say the whole thing's a lie. That's the downside. That's why when it comes to, I'm glad you asked, because we're learning in Daf Yomi, maybe a couple of days ago, we learned, or we will learn, I forget, I don't know where everybody is, all of these medical statements from the Gemara, how to get rid of cataracts, how to do this, how to do that. And when you read them in 2015, you look at it and say, yeah. And I don't think I'll do this. Okay. The rabbis, and our scroll will say at the bottom, do not try this at home. Basically, we don't understand everything. The rabbis had something, but we don't know what they're referring to. There's a whole explanation that goes back and forth about this, and it's a change of nature, this and that. In other words, and he was saying, and Tosfot, he's quoting Tosfot, the school of Tosfot, to say that if you do this and you find it doesn't work, you'll say the whole thing is a sham. So don't challenge it. You don't know what we're talking about. In those days, it worked. Today, it doesn't. But they had different medicine. That's all. Or the different concept of medicine. And again, think of how the rabbis looked at medical care and how we look at medical care. We go to a doctor and we don't follow halacha. Because what's supposed to do when you go to a doctor?
Refresh my memory.
You're supposed to pray to God that the doctor will be able to help you. God will inspire this doctor to know what's proper. The doctor is only a tool. It's one of the many tools that we have in this world. So yes, I have to go to a doctor because I don't have the book from Chezkiah. He hid the book away of cures. And so we don't have that anymore. So now we have to, and we're also spiritually lower than we were way back then. So we have to go with all the cures that modern medicine is giving us. At the same time, we all know that some people have gone through the operation. It was a success and the patient died stories. We all know them. We've all heard them. It's because God said no. So what we're asking God is to help this doctor, inspire this doctor to know what is correct and what's not correct, and that we will heal up. The doctor is supposed to also, if it's a Jewish doctor, is also supposed to say a prayer asking God to guide his hands or her hands. There's actual stuff like that. So we believe, and don't forget, what's our whole concept of why we get disease or colds or it's something else is because of some avera that we've done. It's a spiritual sin manifest in a physical manner. So if you're taking all that into account, now, then we have some place to go. But we don't do that. We go to a doctor and we say, okay, there's my symptoms. The doctor listens. He or she will, they don't write it down. They have the nurse writing it down, whatever. But then they come in, they look at it, and they listen to you for 5 minutes. Listen to your heart, tell you to cough, whatever you're supposed to do. Same routine usually every time. I don't mean to hit up on the doctor in the house, okay? But it's the same routine for the most part. They listen to you, and they give an educated guess based upon what they've been told and what they sense, and say, this is what we believe it to be, and here's the drugs to cure it. Or the operation to cure it, whatever it's going to be. No doctor will ever say, this is guaranteed to, no good doctor. Some charlatans will say anything. But most doctors will say, I think this is what it is. I think this will be the cure. When I had an operation on my gallbladder, they said, we're pretty sure it's a gallbladder. I said, pretty sure? Can you give me a little better than that? You're going to cut me open for a pretty sure? But that's all they could say. They couldn't guarantee it. And by the way, they were wrong. In retrospect, maybe my gallbladder was no good also, but it was my appendix that was doing it. And it took years later to figure that out. So now I lost 2 pieces, okay? They told me that's the extra pieces anyway. Don't worry about it. No, the extra labor. Yeah, you had a question? No, nothing. Okay. So really that's what I'm saying. We go to doctors today and we don't have this connection. Yeah.
For what it's worth.
Yes?
I did a lot of davening as a medic and as a trauma nurse.
Baruch Hashem. No, that's it. But you should.
A lot of davening in the ER.
Okay, but that's okay. You should.
Are you allowed to daven where somebody's dying? Or?
Yes, until they're dead.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
They're alive. You can daven. Oh, you better daven a lot.
Or if you're getting sprayed with their blood.
You should daven before you get in there. You should daven before you get in there. But it's not good to have you to film on what you're doing.
If you're standing in the ER and somebody gets wheeled in with their guts hanging out, then you should stop davening.
God, please help me, quick.
Or please help them.
Help me, help them.
Yeah.
You should say that and give God His due.
Yeah.
So that's what you're trying. That's what we're trying to give over. But that's all coming from this whole concept of this closeness to Devekis. Again, I have to have that Devekis, and then when I do it, it's going to work for me. If I don't have it, it won't work. And so I develop it by every single moment of the day, thanking God, saying God willing, and so on and so forth. By the way, if I ask you to come to, let's say I ask you to come to Minyan, and you say, God willing, I'll make it bli neder, I'll make it whatever the famous statements are going to be from different people. What that really means is, I'm going to try my utmost, and unless hell or high water is going to come to stop me, I'm going to be there. You say bli neder, and God forbid something could happen. But it doesn't mean that I said bli neder, so I don't have to go to shul. Doesn't mean that. It means 99% they're going to be there. Not 50, not 20, not... I said bli neder. I crossed my fingers. I'm all set. No, it doesn't work. Bli neder just means unless something really happens, I get stuck in the traffic jam. I was driving one time. I remember when I was trying to get to Minion. They needed a Minion. I was driving, and I went through the yellow light. Of course, it turned red. The cop pulls me over. You can't tell the cop. I was trying to make it to Minion guy. So I couldn't. So it wouldn't have helped. He wouldn't have helped. He pulled. I could. He asked me. Actually, I probably did. He said, "Why do you run through the light?" I said, "They're trying to get the services." Okay, here's your ticket. Good luck. So I apologized to everyone. I said, "I'm sorry. I got a ticket for you guys," but that's what it was. You just try your best, and I ultimately made it there, but it wasn't, in time for them. Again, also, he continues to say that a holy person will know. Now, this is also important to understand. In 111, follow along with this. He says, a holy person will know when it is proper to use one of Hashem's names for transcending nature in order to sanctify Hashem's name. Rav Chaim Friedlander cites the Ramchal's description of a kadosh, of a holy person in Mesut Yesharim, that such a person is like the temple. For his every act regarding even physical matters is devoted to Hashem. Consequently, such people will certainly use Hashem's names only for sanctifying Hashem. So that has to be what we're doing it for. So this kills your, if I were a rich man, blah, 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 blah. So that's right.
I've already accepted that.
No, but really, that's what kills it, okay? Because you're using it for the sanctification of Hashem's name, and that won't necessarily be one. So, and he continues now. Other than this, even though the action will not be withheld from the one who uses it, if he uses it appropriately, nonetheless, he will surely be punished for his iniquity. So he says like this. The second method of accessing malachim can certainly be applied without the need for closeness to Hashem, as we stated above. Even the first method of using Hashem's hashpa'ot can be applied to some extent, even if the person is not on a relatively high level of closeness to Hashem. But this explains why over the ages, great tzaddikim did not regularly use Hashem's name to save themselves or other Jews from various tragedies. The tzaddikim, the righteous men, or righteous people, needed to be certain that such an act would result in sanctification of Hashem's name. Perhaps in the light of this, we can understand the Midrash Ezkara, which relates that Rabbi Yishmael refused to use Hashem's name to annul the Roman decree against the 10 martyrs once he discovered that the decree was consonant with Hashem's will. So here Hashem wanted those 10 martyrs throughout the times to die. He could have used the names, avert the situation, go on to live a good, healthy life. But he said that would not be, he decided that would not be a sanctification of Hashem's name. And so he did not use those names. So that's the power. Imagine that power. He's going to die because he doesn't want to use it, because he knows it's what Hashem wants. And so he has to give in to that. That's the ultimate sanctification of God's name. Yes.
So why did God put it this? Why did He make it so that there's like a back way in that you can just affect how you can affect the future?
Not the future. You can affect the event.
You can affect things and
because
against God's will.
Good. So the answer usually comes down to the same thing. Hashem gave us free will. We have to use it properly. So if I know how to do it, I'll give you an example. The odds are that you're 14, 13? 14. The odds are at 14, you've watched your father drive many times. The odds are that you believe you can drive that car. You believe you can. You don't think you can drive the car? Okay.
You know how to put it in drive.
Okay. Pretty sad. Okay. When I was a young boy, your age, actually younger, I knew how to drive. Okay? So what happens? I know how to drive. I know how to use the car. I know how to hit the gas, do the whole thing. As a younger kid, we all watch and we think we can do it. And by the way, that's why and if you look at car seats, you probably didn't have a car seat, but in the old car seats they had little steering wheels. Remember that? And you could go like this, and people would go like this with this, because they would see their father doing this. That's how they would drive. So we all thought that if I shake the wheel, that you can drive. That's right? And that's why.
Too much Hollywood.
Sorry, again?
That's watching too much
Correct.
Hollywood.
And that's why if you go to, furthermore, what they have in every bowling alley, or
things.
right, those things you could drive. You hit the gas and you're flying on, and we have now we called Wii. Okay, the Wii 2, Wii 15, whatever they're called. Okay, and what happens? People go and they're driving like this. And I'm thinking, you drive like that, you're going to fly over everything. You can't drive like that. It's straight. You don't move your wheel for the most part. But again, that's the tools. So if I know how to drive, let's say I have to move the car, and I don't have a license, am I allowed to drive? If
Private property?
no, on the road. I'm not allowed to drive. But I decide I know how to do it. And I decide it's not going to hurt anybody. So what I do is I take my chance and I go on the road. And I drive the car wherever I had to drive the car. Can I put it into park bubble? Fine. What happens? I misused my power. That was my free will. I knew it was wrong. I knew that the government considers it wrong. I knew that if I got into an accident, I couldn't have talked my way out of it. I knew all those things that could happen. I chose to be a wise guy. No, I didn't really not do that. I'm just using an example. Okay. But I chose to be a wise guy, and I chose to take it into my own hands. So same thing here. If I know how to use the malachim, and I know I don't have to have a relationship with God, and it's still going to work. Again, I got the book on Amazon.com, so I know how to use it. Right? Oh, you got it. Good. You ordered it. Okay.
But the author died at 57 years old.
Why 57?
I don't know, but don't play around.
Oh, okay. There you go. Okay. So,
Where I sit, yeah.
so what happens is I got it, and now I'm going to, again, I have my free will. I don't, and I'm thinking, I can control the outcome. I just want to be a rich man. So I'm going to, I don't want much. I don't want the $1 billion.
Wait, do you get punished?
I want the 50,000 because I have to pay off a car. So I want a nice car. I want my what's the car? $75,000. I want my Lexus, brand new Lexus. I want my Lexus. I want the 75,000, and I tell the angel, go to work. I need 75 grand. He gives me 75 grand. I go to the Lexus store, cash on the barrel head. That makes you happy, right? Cash on the barrel. There you go. And that's it. And I take my car. By the way, I didn't take into account insurance and everything else. So I have to go back to my malach and say, give me some more money really quick. This insurance is ridiculous. What? Taxes. It's all ridiculous.
Do you get punished for using it?
You will get punished. That's what you said, yeah.
Okay.
You will be punished. For this, you definitely will get punished. And that's the problem. You're not taking that punishment into account. Because you just want it now. But you know you will get punished. That's what I'm saying. You know you will. You know it's wrong, but you decide, I need it. But you know when this happens in our lifetime? When you get that wonderful little thing called a charge card. That is the ultimate evil. Because you get a charge card, and it gets mailed to you in your home. They just mail it to you. You don't even have to sign up for it. They just mail it to you. And they say, if you call this number, we will put it into being fine. And we'll give you a $5,000 limit. And interest-free for the first 6 months. All people saw was interest-free. They didn't see 6 months. They did not see 6 months. And what they do is they say, okay, I have $5,000 in my hand. Oh, so wonderful. I can spend money now. And what they do is they start charging. They get their gas. They get everything on the charge card. They get their bill. And again, first 6 months, I'm only paying no interest. That's what it says. But I saw no interest, period. So they told me minimum payment for $3,000 is $50. What a deal. Love it. Great. 50 is $50. And again, I'm charging him. And then I said to him, I need more money. They say, you want another 5,000? No problem. We'll raise your limit. That's great. I love you guys. It's fantastic. And what happened? Suddenly, 6 months later, you're at $9,000 of debt. It's actually 7 months later. 7 months later, $9,000 of debt. Suddenly, you see the 80% interest now you have to pay on this debt. And you feel the stranglehold. And you say, wait a second. You said no interest. And they say, for the first 6 months. And we were very nice about that. Now start paying. And by the way, we own you. Okay? That's the ultimate punishment that people get. Because most people want to pay that debt off. Most people. You have the individuals who say, care what you want, take me to court, I have no money, I don't care. I would say 95%, I'm going to give 5% of deadbeats, but 95% of people will want to pay that bill off, but will not be able to pay that bill off for years to come. And that's what's going on here. I use those powers, and I'm going to be punished. But I'm telling you straight up now, and he's telling you straight up now, you will be punished. If you use it, you will be punished. Okay, so that's what's going on. Now he says, I have already stated that nonetheless, the matter pertaining to this procedure is not an absolute one. And he says, although the Ramchal has stated that the holy person is permitted to transcend the norms of nature through one of these two methods for the sake of sanctifying Hashem's name, here too he does not have absolute power and control to do as he pleases. Rather, it is limited by the boundaries, that the divine wisdom deemed proper, and even within that boundary itself, the divine decree can hold back the effect whenever he wants, when his wisdom decrees that the withholding is appropriate and proper. Okay, so it's not even a guarantee. If I use everything, if I have this Devekus for the Hashem, and I use the names, Hashem can still say to me, no, it's not good for you. Period. And so Rav Chaim Friedlander cites an example from the Eicha Rabbah where the Hashem thwarted the plan of the Malachim to protect the first Beit HaMikdash from destruction. It should be noted that in Mamre HaIkarim, the Ramchal says that use of the Sefer Yetzirah, which is a book of creation, which nobody really understands, is a permitted method of accessing the spiritual realm to act upon the physical world in an unnatural way. The Sefer Yetzirah is about this thick. Okay? Not thick. That's for the camera. Okay? It has a lot of commentary on it, and Aryeh Kaplan translated it. And it was, I believe, is credited to Avraham Avinu, okay, all the way from Adam HaRishon, and so on and so forth. But it has a very big lineage. You look at it, and you say, and you go on with life. People say they understand it, and I say, and I go on with life. Anybody who tells you they understand that, it's like saying they can answer every Rabbi Akiva Eger on the Gemara. Not happening. Okay? They may get a glimpse of it. Aryeh Kaplan seemed to understand something, but even he was writing it for the regular guy out there. So anybody who you can buy the books and you can think you're going to understand it. Bottom line is it's a meditation type of thing, which we have no context to anymore. So, but they did. And okay, so that's why Friedlander, Ramchal, and so they were very much into the Kabbalah. And we're not. We don't believe that most of it's true anyway. We don't have that concept. I always tell people it's basically the doctrinal course of Judaism. First, get everything else, the whole Gemara, all the commentaries, get everything, know it well, and then try. And by the way, as Hendelay will tell you, not everybody who goes to the doctoral program will finish the doctoral program. You have people who are, what do they call it?
Dropouts?
all about the dissertation, and some people don't even get to the dissertation. Some people don't get even to the test before the dissertation, whatever you call that, the prova. I don't know what they call it. Some people drop out even earlier than that. Not everybody gets it. Not everybody's meant to be a doctor. Not everybody's meant to be a pulpit rabbi. Not everybody's meant to be a teacher. Not everybody's meant to be a mechanic. Everybody should choose their way. What?
Some of them that get it are bad.
Some people who get their smicha, you mean?
Or their PhD.
Right. Some people who, you mean they shouldn't get it.
Right.
Right.
What do you call the guy at the bottom of the class?
Yeah.
Doctor, right. The point is that, we have to know ourselves, and we have to know what we're really good for and what we're not good for. And so, like I said, I give this fair warning. You want to buy the Aryeh Kaplan book, Sefer Yetzirah, Gesundheit, support whatever publisher that is. Aryeh Kaplan's family hopefully get with something for it still, but it's, you're not going to get it. I know he's dead. I said the family will get something for it. I know. He passed. Truth is, the guy, he probably did understand it. He was brilliant, they say. Aryeh Kaplan was brilliant.
And a nice guy.
I never met him, but if you tell me he's a nice guy, I believe you. But it's, I wish I could understand it. It would be nice to know how to traverse time. That's what the book's supposed to have to do.
Traverse like time travel.
Time travel, yes. There you go. Now he's going to start learning Sefer Yetzirah. Hurry up, Charles. Get the book for him. He's going to look at it. I got him. He time travel. He likes that.
Just go listen to old Jim Croce songs.
No. Don't compare the two. Please. Okay, let's go. So I've been saying whenever they try to give you their references, which I'm reading to you guys, but still understand that we're nowhere near that sort of level. Having explained how the nature can transcend through the names of Hashem, the Ramchal now describes how nature can be transcended through the forces of evil. Since the divine wisdom decreed that there should be good and evil in the world, the arrangement was that evil should truly exist at whatever levels it possibly could, and explains the existence of evil is not absolute and is defined by its relative role in man's development, unlike good, which is of an absolute nature, as the Ramchal stated below. Will state below. Consequently, man's service would be to prevent evil from dominating, and the ability to act in all of its ways and in accord with all its levels, until it is completely eradicated from the entire creation. Simply put, he explains, Hashem created the world with shortcomings and evil to give man the opportunity to earn eternal reward by completing the state of creation and removing evil. In Das Devunot, the Ramchal writes further that by removing evil from the world, Hashem's oneness becomes revealed. Okay, so indeed, note that regarding Hashem, the truth of what He is excludes from Him any possible type of shortcoming, as was written in part 1, chapter 1. It is only in the created beings that shortcomings and evil can possibly exist. Now, the arrangement was that the gradations of good should be created for the created beings, and the opposite, which is evil, should also be created for them. For this is the nature of reality, that there should be the possibility of evil, and man should come with his service and eradicate from the fears from the entire creation all evil, and establish the good eternally within himself and within the creation. So he explains that the Ramchal wrote that Hashem is perfect in all ways without any shortcoming whatsoever. Thus, whenever we speak of shortcomings and imperfection, this is not relating to Hashem. He continues to say there are varying degrees of good in the world, and in the spiritual realms, there are further levels of good ascending right up to the highest level of spirituality that is closest to Hashem. And as the Ramchal stated above, Hashem did not create evil the way He created good. He created only the possibility that evil should develop. This is why He states here that Hashem created the possibility of evil. So again, the possibility is there, and that's up to us to bring it to fruition, if you will. But we also have the free will to go the other way. If we're going to constantly follow the Torah and what Hashem wants, so then evil has no place in our life, and it won't get in. Otherwise, it will. It's like, and the Kli Yakar in Chumash gives a very nice explanation for this. He says it's like a fly that comes to a wound. A fly will come to a wound, and it'll keep picking and picking and picking, and then it'll sometimes, if it gets through, then it infects the whole thing. But you can always shoo the fly away while you're letting the fly bother you. That's a Yetzer Hara. It'll get you, until you send it away. But if you leave it around you, that's when things happen. Okay. So also, just to finish this off, I didn't get there. Okay. So he says, therefore it was arranged that for everything that is good, this opposite of evil would be found, and that's why the pasuk states, and that's what it states, both in this context and in contrast to the other that Hashem made. So in Koheles, the Ramchal explains that there are 10 major levels of spiritual impurity, corresponding to the 10 major levels of holiness, extending to the highest source of Tumah, down to the physical world. And so he continues to say there is only one advantage that good has over evil. And he says, although there is a level of evil corresponding to each level of good, there is still one aspect in which the forces of good have the advantage over those of evil. And he says that the advantage is that the source of good is derived from Hashem's perfection, which always was and always will be, while evil is only a created phenomenon which will be nullified, and it can play a role only during the time of man's efforts that we have mentioned above. So he explains that the forces of good are permanent, whereas evil is only temporary, since evil exists only to give man the opportunity to perfect Hashem's creation. When man's time for efforts end, at the end of 6,000 year span of this world, there will be no more need for evil. So, again, evil isn't bad if you look at it like that. The opportunity is what we need to say, no, I don't want it. You know what, and the best way, I love doing it to dieting, because dieting is the ultimate way we understand this. Most of us want to lose, well, you guys, I don't think you've ever had a problem. You have the problem, good. Most adults have the problem with weight. And we work out, we figure out, we have to kill calories, we go online, we do what we're going to do, fine. And we do our push-ups, we do our walking, we would do whatever we're going to do. Suddenly, we're lined up in the store to get to cash out. While you're walking around the store, you don't think twice about buying anything, right? You just pick the stuff, you put in your carriage, and so on and so forth. Well, lo and behold, what do they have right at the place where you're going to cash out? What do they have there? Candy. Okay? The aisle of temptation. What?
It's all the best candy.
Right. It's what we call, it's what one rabbi called the aisle of temptation. So you're coming through this, and what happens? They have all the little boxes, and they charge you 50 cents, $1, whatever it's going to be. And originally, before we became so health conscious, Hershey's and all the other ones, they never put how many calories right on the top, what it was. And they would only put in the back in the small print, and you would eat, and so on and so forth. And most of us would say, you know what, I'm hungry. So you grab whatever type of candy you're going to grab, and you eat it. Now, it's interesting, because now what happened is they put it on the front. And the chutzpah is, this is M&M's. M&M's. I looked at it, I was about to get M&M's. On the front of the M&M says, only a small bag, only 230 calories. I said, only 230 calories? I put it back. I said, are you crazy? I'm going to ruin my calories for that? So instead I went home and I had a Twix bar, which also was 230 calories. Okay? But think about it. The aisle of temptation. Here I know I have to lose weight. And what happens is, It calls to you. Eat me, buy me, do this, do that. That's the evil that's out there. But the evil is good because if I fight it, I feel good for it. Imagine that. You feel good for it. That when you work out that day, instead of letting it go, because too much is on your plate, but you actually hit the treadmill, you actually do those push-ups, you actually do the stuff, you work out, you feel good because you resisted it. When you look on those ingredients and you see high fructose corn syrup, and you say, this is poison, and you put it away, you won't buy the product, you feel good for that. You do. You'll find out as you grow older. You'll have your own challenges. And when you defeat that challenge, that evil that's come into you, crept into your life, you feel good for it. When you give into it, you feel disgusting. Why did I do that? I didn't even like it. It wasn't what I thought it would taste like. By the way, y'all think you're going to say, oh, I remember the good old days. I could eat everything. I remember in Boston, they have what we call a half moon. Here, you call it black and white. Here, it's lousy. They're horrible. New York, they're no good. There's only one place in Boston that made it right. Only one place. That place is closed down, too. Okay. It used to be, if he's out there, Ruth's Bakery. That's the only one that used to make it right. They made it beautiful. And I always wanted to have that flavor because I loved it. Buttercream with a nice cake. Talk about calories, please. But it was good. You enjoyed it. I would eat that with no guilt. I would just have to work out a little more. Now I go to the store and I buy some. When I go to college, I buy these cookies. And I say, okay, with the kids, I have all the rationales in the world to buy this stuff. And when I eat it, I say, why am I eating this? It's not good. It's not worth the calories. I do it every week, but it's not worth the calories. And Coke, 200 calories. What's this? Coke is 200 calories. And you're thinking, again, well, as my wife says, why would you drink empty calories? It's worthless. But think about what we ingest. That's all of the evil, quote unquote, evil out there. And that when we fight that, and we have the healthy stuff, and we start doing what we should be, we feel so good for it. And the amazing thing is that we are willing to give up that good feeling for the momentary pleasure, which turns into a lifetime of torture. It's not worth it. That's what he's saying. That's what he's bringing down here. That the evil is out there, but it's up to us to take it over. God's giving us an opportunity, and when we do, we go stronger and stronger and stronger, and it's something we have to really think about. We'll have to stop here.
It goes back to that joke that I love.
Which joke?
About the tzaddik of Chelm who, to confuse the Yetzer Hara, would give in to it.
There you go. Yeah.